Good afternoon, friends. This is the session on customer-centric retail banking model. The chair will be with Mr. H.S.U. Kamath, Chairman and Managing Director of Vijaya Bank. I would request him to please take the seat. Next, I invite Madam S.A. Fanse, Chairperson and Managing Director, Allahabad Bank. I invite Mr. S.K. Jain, CMD, Syndicate Bank. The next panelist is Mr. V. Vaidyanathan, Chairman and MD of Capital First. I invite Mr. Rajiv Sabharwal, ED, ICICI Bank, to please take the seat. I invite now Mr. Amitabh Mehra, CEO of India Mortgage Guarantee Corporation. The session will be taken through by Ruchi. Ruchi can all join on the dais. First, Ruchi will make a small presentation, and then the panel discussion will start. And this will be a 75-minute session, and we'll definitely give enough time to all of you to have a Q&A session with the panelists, and make it a very lively session. I now open the session. Please, Mr. Kamath, please take over.
Good afternoon, everybody, and I hope through our panel discussion this time we can actually keep you excited after lunch. So I'll start by introducing what is the concept of customer centricity. And to start with, I would like to say that globally banks are actually moving towards a lot of their vision statements actually articulating the importance of being customer-centric. You'll see some statements flashing, wherein banks mentioning that customer will be the focal point of their strategy. Focusing on customer is the way the banking should be in future. Why is this happening? The key aspect is that the customer is becoming more demanding. There are some shifts which are happening, not just globally, but in India as well. And just to talk you through some of those shifts are, primarily, first thing is what we observed in a survey in 2007 was very high loyalty from customers. What does loyalty mean? The customer saying that, listen, I'm really happy with my banking services with my bank, and I'm actually going to recommend this bank to others as well. And we've seen a 40 percentage point drop in this loyalty. Why is this loyalty dropping? Because customers have started to demand much more different things. In the earlier survey, we found that price used to emerge as one of the top 5 factors. And now as we go forward, and the current survey says that it's not price actually, price has been replaced by customer intimacy and trust, which are more important in terms of the factors which govern loyalty for customers. When these factors change in terms of what is important from a loyalty point, what happens is banks also need to reinvent themselves. The third point that you see is more in terms of there is a threefold increase in non-traditional channels. Earlier, intimacy, branch-based interactions were important. In current situations, customers are hopping across multiple channels. So even for the decision-making, they might be actually referring to a lot of online channels, getting a view, making a decision, and then approaching the branch. So that's a very different way of banking that is emerging for the customers, and banks need to be prepared for that. Another element which is emerged in terms of the customer survey findings is actually in terms of saying that customers are wanting more of financial advice, financial planning, and there has been a decline in the satisfaction with the current amount of financial advisory or planning as expected by the customers. So if you keep these trends in mind, and that's what the basis of our session today is, saying that if this is what is happening in the Indian market, and I actually need to build a much stronger connect and a stronger share of wallet and intimacy with my customer, what does it translate into? What I have here is there are 3 points to it. First of all, you need to know your customer better. What does it involve is actually segment your customers. There could be a rural customer, urban customer. That kind of segmentation we always have. Now it's become much more complex, and we'll come to it. In terms of saying, okay, this is an affluent customer. Within the affluent customer as well, this is a self-directed user who's actually very multi-channel oriented. So that kind of understanding of segmentations is important. One of the great examples here is Bank Itaú, which actually has 360 micro segments, and they actually use it across their channels. Whenever a person is swiping a card in the ATM, the switch, it reads what customer it is, what is it actually that I should pitch to the product, what product should I pitch to the customer. So all that is very much integrated and part of the way they operate right now. The second point here is the proposition. So if I have identified what my customer needs, what is it that I am going to give as a proposition? Is it that the customer is demanding higher service? So is that what my proposition is? Is my proposition that for this particular customer, they want some very fancy, cool product? So am I able to innovate on product side? So that's the entire proposition angle for customers. The third is delivery. You might have a great strategy, vision, positioning, and also some designs. Until and unless it's integrated across delivery channels, it doesn't really have the right impact. What do I mean by that is the delivery should be same consistent positioning for the customer across branch, online, ATM channels, along with your operations, which is the IT, your CRM support, your operations, or your staff capabilities. All that should match to actually deliver a proposition. Some of the examples that I would like to cite here is, for example, TD Bank. They decided they wanted to be really good in service excellence for their customer. They went out and said, okay, my branches would be open 7 days in a week. Some branches maybe till midnight as well. And I'm actually going to embed all this entire element of customer centricity by doing mystery shopping. When I do mystery shopping and I find employees who are actually very good on the dimensions that I've defined, I'll give them a wow award. So it's across the cycle, it's been integrated as to how to deliver on that better proposition. This is a segmentation that I was talking about. Earlier, it was just an urban and rural customer, but even within an urban customer, there's large, medium corporations, SMEs, small businesses, self-employed. If I double-click, and there is the high net worth, upper affluent, lower. So there are various segmentations possible basically on demographics. But this demographics way of segmentation was something that we started with. But now, even within this demographics, if you see, there is this is just further sub-split on an affluent customer. There could be a self-directed user who's very much wanting to do everything themselves online, most of their transactions. At the same time, within the same affluent customer segment, there are satisfied savers who are more like to do branch-based interactions. They would be somewhere in the middle age, they're more risk averse, so they would require a different kind of either product or interaction with them. As we select these subsegments and banks define product bundles for it, for example, for an upper affluent, say, okay, I will have these kind of products, I will couple it with advisory, I would have some priority or wealth branches. On the affluent side, more in terms of, okay, focus on what I'm delivering through each of the dedicated channels. On the mass customer, more in terms of saying that, listen, they would want more value for money, so how do I give them more value for money? And along all this, I decide what is going to be my base proposition. What I mean by that is, I am going to be a bank that's very relationship-oriented. I am going to be offering really high services, advisory services, and that's why the customer is going to come to me. Or the second type of bank could be, listen, my customer should think that I am a kind of bank which will actually rarely make mistakes. I'll be top class in my service delivery. In that case, what does the bank need to do? You need to focus on your service delivery, PD complaint resolution, consistency around your responses. So it shouldn't be your call center is giving a different response. By the way, my online channel is giving a different response. The third kind could be convenience. okay, I'm going to be a bank which is going to give the convenience to my customer because that's what my starting base of customers is, right? And if my customer is asking for convenience, I'm going to have state-of-the-art multi-channel. I might open my branch hours, might be extended branch hours. I might be located in locations which are closer to my customer base, and so on and so forth. As a bank, you can't aim to have everything. Your customers might demand, but you have to be very selective as to what you want to be known for. And what is your starting position? Each bank will have a very different starting position. You could have a starting position wherein your customer segment, within your customer segment, there could be some segments requiring something else and some segments requiring something else. So how do you deliver that proposition? And how do you also make it profitable for you? So you can't be delivering on all this, having state-of-art, investing in it, and you invested in it, and then the bottom line shows. And those red marks is not something that we are looking for. So as we look at customer segmentation, customer-oriented proposition, and being customer-centric, it's very important that it should have a business case as well. I just skipped this. And so just to end with, we talk about being customer-centric, but it's important to keep 5 points in mind. One is you shouldn't overstretch. What you mean by being overstretched is that you define that these are my 5 segments, but within my bank, I've just defined it, but there's no senior person taking the ownership for it. So your organization should be geared up for the vision that you've articulated. Second is in terms of overpaying. It should make business sense at the end of the day. You might say that I'm going to launch, say, 5 products, a really good credit card, which has all the benefits. But you know what? My acquisition, and actually, if I work out my economics of offering that product, it is red. So that's not something that's something that you have to continuously keep in mind. Third is overpromise. You might articulate the vision. We saw some of the visions flashing earlier, but it shouldn't be that it's just a promise and you are not able to deliver on that promise. Hence, your operating model, the focus on actually getting the operating model right is very, very important. Fourth is over-focus. You said that it's important, let me invest a lot. You invested a lot in just actually getting the customer on board by giving the proposition, but you didn't invest in the lifetime value of the customer, so it was never a profitable proposition. And fifth and most important, which I think you will be hearing across panel discussions, is in terms of investing in capability building, because you won't be able to deliver a proposition until and unless it's coupled with the right kind of investment in employees. One or two things that I like to highlight before I close is you could see a lot of bank examples. For example, a bank took up this case and said that I want to be customer-centric and I want to provide them advisory. So they created the branch setup, which was very different in terms of saying it's a cashless branch. It's just advisory. I have a different kind of advisory sales force. Or on the other hand, a bank would say, I want to cater to a Gen Y customer. This is OCBC. They said, I want to cater to a Gen Y customer. To develop that proposition, what I'll do is I'll actually start to observe them very carefully. I'll actually go shopping. I'll see what their shopping behavior is, what are they doing. And then they came up with this concept of Frank, which is a proposition wherein the branches, the products, and all, everything is catered for that segment. But the case studies which have been most successful is if you keep your focus also on the profitability and what you're offering to the customer, and are you investing enough to actually get back. And that balance is very, very important. And I think I'll hand over to Mr. Kamath to take forward the discussion in the panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruchi, for that very brief and lucid presentation. All panelists, excepting Ruchi, will now make initial opening remarks for about 2 minutes. Let me start that myself. Customer centricity, in my opinion, will mean different things to different people, to different organizations. But in the Indian context, in my humble view, what customer centricity means is that the organizations who cater to them should have intimate knowledge of their needs, and to meet those needs, make available products and services with relative ease in the most painless manner possible. And to do this, first of all, you should evolve suitable products and services. The delivery efficiency has to be of a very high order. It has to be error-free to the extent possible. Thirdly, there should be no hidden cost. Everything has to be, very transparent. The terms and conditions should be very simple, not complex, easy to understand. And there has got to be a very efficient, grievance redressal mechanism or problem resolution mechanism. And you are aware that banks in India, like elsewhere, offer services through various channels, and there is a dire need for, integration of channels across the spectrum. And last but not the least, in my view, whatever we do should not only, give satisfaction to the customer, it should ultimately also add to the bottom lines of the banks and organizations that we represent. May I now request Madam Panse to give her views?
Thank you. Well, as far as customer centricity to me means, which we have been doing in public sector banks till date, because all of us over here, most of us have been branch managers. And as we take up the charge of the branch managers within next 1 or 2 months, we come to know every customer who walks in. And when we know the customer, we know the kind of relationship he has. More the relationship, obviously, he is we are more focused on that particular customer. So maybe we have not used technology to get a full 360-degree view in front of me when I'm dealing with a customer. But broadly, as a branch head, as a banker, I do know what is his relationship with the branch and what is the potential available. And I then mentally do customer segmentation. More the relationship, more the addition to the bottom line, obviously I'm more focused on the needs of that particular customer. So when a customer walks in, within next 2-3 minutes, that entire study happens. I see in my customer segmentation where he fits, and my response to him accordingly varies. And this happens within the branch also, because the people who are manning the counters also are quite aware that what is the importance of that particular customer. However, as we have progressed and the business has increased, the number of customers and the number of relationship has become more complex. Second thing is, because of technology now, the customer does not keep coming to the branch. He comes through various delivery channel, and a staff or a branch manager in the branch very rarely gets to know at that point of time what is the value of that particular customer, because he is also coming through different delivery channels. And that's why now the customer centricity and the customer segmentation has become a big challenge, and the kind of response we need to give as far as a banker is concerned. And this is where I feel it's time that we brought in technology, we brought in customer analytics, and we gave that kind of support to the branch people. So the moment a customer walks in, on the monitor, on the iPad, the customer relationship manager should get the 360-degree view of that particular customer, and immediately that particular customer relationship manager, the branch manager, can then change his focus and, according to the need of that particular customer, give a kind of response. This is evolving as technology comes more and more. I'm sure, the customer centricity would gain a lot of importance. But one thing we have to remember, as a public sector bank in big cities, we deal with different segments of the customers, and as a branch manager, I keep moving from one customer segment to another, and I build up that flexibility where I keep changing my response depending on the type of customer that I am dealing, depending on the segment from which that particular customer is coming. So I feel, yes, that is being done, only some institutionalization is necessary. Thank you.
Mr. Vaidyanathan, could you give your perspective?
Thank you. Usually when we talk to people about customer centricity, it's a term that's very much being used over the last 8 or 10 years, and this term was not so common before that. And people initially started breaking down the vertical silos of organizations and started saying that the customer is the center, products are all around him, and therefore how can we create customer centricity? That's how the concept started. So surely, the next step becomes, okay, how customer centric are you? So if you talk to we speak at any global conference or talk to other global banks, they usually convert this to a metric. How customer centric is an organization? They convert it to a metric. Metric is how many products of the organization, of the bank, is the customer availing? So we say this bank is more customer-centric if it's 4, less customer-centric it's 1. Now, if we move away from that, it opens up another question with this selling more products to the customer, keeping customer centricity, opens up an inherent conflict. And that is what I would like to bring to the attention of this audience. And then maybe in the course of the discussion, we will flesh it out. What is the conflict? Now, our intent is more products per customer. Now, what products we are selling to the customer may not necessarily be, that may not be the intention or the interest or not in the interest of the customer. For example, you say, okay, you have a bank account, I also give you a credit card. But credit cards are fundamentally and often designed in such a way that the customer will skip the payment, and if they skips the payment, I will bill you 250 rupees. And therefore, in the business model is defined in such a way that 10% of the customers will skip, I will make so much money. Telecom companies give a program saying that you can, I'll give you 750 rupees, pay me 750 rupees, and you can talk as much as you want. But they're hoping customer actually uses only for 550, and 200 is breakage. Similarly, when we do a home loan or a car loan, we are hoping that customer did not see the prepayment charge, and it is built into the scheme, and we hope to make money from the customer later. Now, therefore, there is a fundamental thinking issue when we talk of customer centricity as to customer centricity for whom? Is it for the bank's interest and making the profits of the bank, or is it in the interest of the customer? And as we address this and try to say that we want to make money, we want to be profitable, we want to be making return on equity, but more in the interest of the customer and yet make our returns, it's got something very fundamental about it.
Thank you, Mr. Vaidyanathan. May I now turn to Mr. Rajiv Sabharwal? Kindly share your thoughts briefly.
Thank you, sir. I think so. What customer centricity is has been well elucidated. I think so. My colleagues have all mentioned what it is, but I'd like to talk about how, what's the output of it. How do we really know whether we've progressed in that direction or not? I think so. The biggest way we can judge whether we are customer centric or not is whether we have customers advocacy or not. Whether this customer is going to recommend banking with me or not. And if we reach that stage where he advocates me, where he talks about me, I think so we are in a situation where we are customer centric. Another aspect which is so much related to it and which is very important, and we won't get customer advocacy if we are not there, is customer loyalty. Today, we all know that it's very difficult to acquire a customer. But we still end up losing some customers. I think so one good way which each bank can evaluate how customer-centric it is by looking at the number of customers it is losing every month, or alternatively, they are becoming dormant. So if you calculate the ratio of dormant to inactive and customers you're losing to your total set of customers, you'll know whether you're proceeding in the right direction or not. And that is something which we've realized is very important. So, for example, within our bank, we would really like not to lose a single customer, and if we've acquired him once, we want to keep him for life. And that is where this whole thought process of how to deal with customer changes. Another aspect, is why do we fail in when we all know that loyalty is important and advocacy is important? Why do we fail? The biggest reason why we fail is we fail to understand our customer. A lot of times we believe we know what is good for the customer, and what appeals to us is something which will appeal to the customer also. Something similar to what Vaidyanathan also mentioned. And that is where we err. I think so we all need to be much more closer to the customer, trying to understand what he actually needs and then delivering what he wants from us. And once we do that, there's no reason why we will not have customer advocacy, which is what we all want.
Thank you, Rajiv. May I now turn to Mr. S.K. Jain. Briefly share your thoughts with us.
Good evening, everybody. I think, to my mind, if I have to define customer centricity in retail banking, it is a way of banking based on trust and fairness, using knowledge of the customer to meet their needs to achieve a sustainable and valuable long-term relationship. So, to my mind, we need to create an organization which is customer-centric. We need to understand the habits, the mindset of the customer, and try to develop the products which hovers around the customer need and satisfaction. Probably, as earlier speakers also said, that we feel that, yes, this is a product which will suit to the customer need. But I think unless we understand in a systematic way what is the need of the customer, and then I think we can create the organization. I think the major thrust on the customer sector organization is market segmentation, product positioning, innovative delivery channels, and cross-selling. I think these are some major issues which need to be addressed while creating a customer sector organization.
Mr. Amitabh, kindly share your views with us.
I think I have a little bit of a challenge here since I'm a rank outsider amongst my colleagues.
You are
here,
not, yeah.
Not being from the banking fraternity. So the view is going to be slightly different in terms of how is, from whose perspective are you getting customer centricity? Is it the bank's perspective who segments the customer in a specific way and then treats the customer that way? Or is it from the customer's perspective who wants to be treated in a specific way because they have a view of themselves? Unfortunately, over time, because of the way banking has progressed and service delivery has progressed, the customer has come to a point where they expect the moon. And they expect the moon for free. Keeping that in mind, when a bank is trying to offer a value-added service or a differentiated service, are they supposed to give it away for free or are they supposed to charge for it? If they're going to charge for it, it's a different ballgame, because then we have, I just heard very recently, was if a bank wants to send an SMS alert to a customer, there's a cost to the bank. Now, is the bank going to charge for it? And it seems, unfortunately, the regulator has a view on that. If the regulator is going to start straitjacketing service delivery organizations in terms of what they're going to be able to do for a customer in terms of customer service, it's going to become pretty tough. With that reality, I think what we got to question is, can you really be customer-centric? Are you going to be giving away things for free? Or, do you have the ability to actually charge for it? I think that's the background I want to leave the group with in terms of, as we drive forward, how do we actually manage this aspect of it?
Thank you. Thanks to all the panelists for giving us their initial comments and opinion on customer centricity. May I once again turn to Madam Panse. In your view, how customer-centric are Indian banks at this point in time? Are there, in your considered view, any major initiatives to be taken on in this particular area? Kindly provide us a public sector bank's perspective.
As I'm representing the public sector banks, I would limit my response to the public sector bank. If you look at a public sector bank deals with different segments of customers. But if you look at a branch locations, in the rural area, generally the customer segment which we are dealing is same. So it becomes very easy to be there, very customer focused, very customer centric. But the challenge comes as we move from the rural area into semi-urban and bigger cities. In metros and bigger cities, the customer segments which we are dealing in a branch are varied. And every customer segment has got a different perspective. Added to it is now the age of a customer. Earlier it used to be only the quantum of business or the number of relationship that was there. Now the younger customer is just not interested coming into the branches, and his total perspective is, I need only technology solutions. As he ages, his expectation changes. So in a bigger cities, and depending on the age of the customer that is there within the branch, depending on the segment of a customer, the response of the branch has to change. And this is the biggest challenge as far as the branch manager or the staff of the branch is concerned, because The moment a customer walks in, depending on which segment he is, whether he is an HNI customer or he is a customer who needs hand-holding because he is an illiterate customer, the branch manager's response has to vary on a scale of 1 to 10, depending on the kind of services, the centricity that is really required. So I feel it is very, very challenging as far as a public sector bank is concerned when we talk of customer centricity. Second aspect is, more often the customer comes, it is perceived that he is very profitable, but actually through customer analytics, when we start working on the customer profitability, we realize generally, it's not a rule, but generally I have seen a customer who keeps coming very often to the branch and engages with the branch staff, he has the least profitability as far as that customer is concerned. And that's why I feel under the present circumstances, when we are using technology and we are using CRM solutions, a time has come when we look into the analytics and look at the customer profitability. And depending on the customer profitability and the future business potential that is available, we now need to do from the bank perspective or the branch perspective or the branch staff perspective, change the way we deal with a particular customer. As far as customer centricity from the customer point of view is concerned, obviously, the customer expects more from the branch. However, today also, if you look at the public sector bank, the psyche is of a customer that he wants everything free. And if we start charging, obviously, the customer doesn't like. So if there is a need for a change, if a customer feels that he needs to get the best of the services, he should be in a position to pay for it. So psychologically, or his psyche also needs to undergo change. But if you look at the younger generation or the more affluent generation, we feel they're ready to change, ready to pay for it. For them, time is very important and ease of doing service is important. So there's a big change which is coming about. I think as we move forward, we'll see this change on both the sides. Thank you.
Thank you, Panse. You have made a very valid point that in whatever we do, in addition to ensuring customer satisfaction, it should also make economic sense to the bank. A very valid point. May I now take the same question to Rajiv Sabharwal, and let us have your private sector bank's perspective on this issue with regard to our current state of readiness on customer centricity.
This is a very interesting space. The more you do, the more you progress, the more you feel you can do. This is not a place where you feel you can ever be satisfied on. And that's true for all banks, I'm sure. As far as private banks are concerned, I think so. There's been a significant progress over the last few years. The whole concept of customer centricity starts from being able to segment your customers. That's the first place from where it starts. And if you look at how banks have done, I think so. Almost all banks have tried to segment their customers differently for the urban customers, and then separately for the rural customers. It's equally important that we create products and processes based on that. And this is also an area in which we have seen significant progresses. We have products which are aligned to separate segments. One thing which, from where this all started and which is very essential is, have we really aligned our organizational structure to this whole concept? Typically, what happens is, in any organization, in the past, if you would look at it, there would be product owners and there would be channel owners. And that is how the whole organization was organized. And then somebody thought that we should have segment owners. But the biggest mistake which people made at that point of time was, in the whole hierarchy, the product owners were much senior to the segment owners. And consequently, the bias towards running the organization in a product-centric way was very high. And that, I think so, has changed over the last few years. Today, for example, within our organization, a segment owner is, if not more senior, at least at the same level as the product owner. And that ensures that the balance is never lost. Because a lot of times what happens is, what is essential for us to do is sell the right product to the right segment. For example, we have defined and created a matrix for each segment that what products should be sold. But the work doesn't stop there. At the end of the month, we look at, have we sold a product which should not have been sold to a particular segment? That is essential because you have to prevent mistakes from happening. If all goes well, very few customers will come and applaud you. But if you make mistakes, they will come and immediately come and tell you. So those are the controls which are required to make that happen. A lot of work has gone on to analytics. There's been significant progress there. And I believe that is what is helping us, all banks, in terms of being able to segment and target customers better. But going forward, I feel there are a couple of areas in which we need to do far better than what we have done. One is in the space of co-creation. A lot of times still today, we manufacture products and we decide which segments we should market them to. We are still not co-creating products along with the customer, and that is essential for us to do in the long run, because those are the products which are designed through customer inputs which will do well in the long run. And the second is what I mentioned some time back, is understanding the customer, being very close to the customer. How much time do we spend with the customers? How much time a manager, or let me say people sitting at the corporate offices who design products, spend in the branches? How many customers do they meet every day or every month? That is very essential, and I think so we need to do a far better job on that front compared to what we are doing today.
Thank you, Rajiv. Mr. Vaidyanathan, you are a banker turned a CEO of a private sector NBFC, and that too a largely overseas owned NBFC. Do you feel banks need to look to other industries to reinvent the customer engagement model? What are your views on this?
First of all, when we say we are a overseas funded or a private equity funded company, definitely when you use the word private equity, the instant message that comes to your mind, Mr. Kamath, is that returns, right? So, and returns requirement is not very different. I assume even public sector banks are now talking returns, and Mr. Chidambaram talked about dividends this morning. So, but having said that, yes, the expectation of returns are there, and they want to post, and any company funded by private equity wants to post a 20% return on equity. And there is a bridge to make it happen. So, definitely, returns is one of the agenda. But the way to reach returns, I actually read a very interesting report by Xerox Corporation about, they did a customer survey, and they asked the customers to rate them between 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 4 being the highest and most satisfied. And they said that moment they moved more customers, a significant percentage, 60% of the customers from 3 to 4, they said the profitability went up by 60%. So this is the order of magnitude a good customer service or a good customer-centric organization is creating. It is adding to profitability, so it just adds back. But when we look at other organizations, I would not like to do a specific bank versus NBFC comparison. I think the really need is that typically it is true that a bank tends to do a large number of products. And when you go to a branch, we say, please open an account. We also want them to give a home loan. We also want to give them a credit card. We also give them wire transfer services. Branch manager also has to meet service indicators. Then the branch manager also has to meet audit requirements. And he has to be a god. So when he has to be, and there is no god. So then something falls along the way. So I think some amount of support system that the branch manager will need to enable his whole process of being able to become closer to God as the system is requiring him to be is very much necessary. And I'll give you 1 or 2 examples of how people can get really close to the customer. The best example is what Kirana shopkeepers are doing. When Kirana shopkeepers, we call them even in the night and say, look, can you send me one Boroline, which is only 20 rupees? He will still send it to our home, and he does not tell me, my man is costing me 20 rupees to deliver to your home. So please, I have a minimum charge if I have to deliver something. No. He just says, no question, just say he delivers. in the overall package of what he's making from the customer, in the overall package of what he's making, the lifetime value of the customer, and lifetime value, including referrals, is tremendous. We will talk about some statistics if we have time, is terrific. And he, in a position, is actually say, is your father well? I've not been seeing him for a while. Now, this kind of intimacy, which he knows that the child is growing, he will need these needs, it's very high. And if there is one real example that we can get very close to this, look, now we as a large bank or any large bank cannot, of course, replicate a model. So that's where, let me say, technology comes and plays a role. Now, we can do scoring models even when we do, let me say, campaign management. The worst thing to do is to say that, to data mine the customers, find, say, out of 1 million customers, 200,000 eligible for home loan. To reach all the customers of home loans and say, you're eligible, you're eligible. It's like I've been getting an SMS for the last 5 days, which says that, are you 10th fail? I can give you BA pass certificate. I mean, I'm not 10th fail, but I've been getting that certificate, right? So all I'm saying, I've been getting that SMS and I've been pretty harried by that. The point, therefore, is that I feel that, when we can do technology-based scoring solutions, we can metricize them in a very basic format into 2 formats. Propensity for the customer to avail the product and propensity of the customer to behave well. Propensity to behave well comes from credit bureau. Propensity to avail the product comes to a scoring program, and only customers who meet both the cuts are offered. So you offer not to 200,000 customers, offer to only 50,000 customers, but it's a very, very high chance that he bites. So this way we can make a number of products pop at us when the customer interacts with us, and then offer only such products to only such customers. Even to use the 30 seconds time saying, are you interested, is a waste of our time and waste of the customer's time, more irritation like the SMS, if we did not have that analytics model.
Thank you, Vaidyanathan. You touched upon a very valid point. It is not transaction to transaction profit that matters. It's the overall, customer profitability that one has to look at. The same point was alluded to by Madam Panse also. Now let me turn to Mr. S.K. Jain. Mr. Jain, do you feel that there are any specific factors which inhibits the Indian banks going in for a full-scale kind of a customer centricity model-driven, retail business? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think to my mind, presently the Indian PSU bank, particularly the custom retail banking which we are doing, is a very basic retail banking. PSU banks have still not segmented the entire market, and unless we have a segmented market and then decide as to what is our target group, and then only I think, depending upon the target group, depending upon the need of that particular group, bank needs to develop a very robust IT platform, and then I think we can go for a customer-centric approach. So unless banks adopt that very segmented, targeted approach as to which target group we want to serve, I think then only we start marching towards the customer-centric approach. Now, second is, still I think the major impediment is understanding the needs of the customer. I think as of today also public sector banks are in possession of huge amount of data relating to customer, but very few public sector banks have done any data mining to understand the needs of the customer as to what the customer products which can be sold to the customers. So I think there is a need to understand the needs of the customer in a very clear terms, have a 360 angle assessment of the needs of the customer, and then only I think we can march forward. This is one of the major impediments with the bank, that we are not able to understand and not clearly focusing the need of the customer. We simply push the product, I think, which doesn't, yield any results. So I think to create a customer-centric organization, we need to have a targeted approach.
Well, I have a lot of other points on which, we wanted to discuss. I have just got an indication that we need to wind up by 4:10, the latest. Therefore, I would request the panelists to be very brief in their responses. I would like to, ask Madam Ruchi Karla, how can banks transform themselves into, customer-centric organizations? What are the various steps one need to go through in this transformation process?
Yeah, thank you. I think a lot of points have been already mentioned by panel members, so I'll just take a small example to outline what steps come to my mind. The first part is to actually have a right judgment of what's your starting position. You can't just wake up one fine day and say that I want to be customer-centric and target this particular customer segment. So the vision and the positioning is very, very important as to where you want to be and what's your starting position. Translate this into what the operating model will be, as to what is it that you need to change in terms of operations, channels, in terms of communication or positioning that needs to happen across levels and across the various departments or the verticals of the organization. One example that I take is Disney. They decided there's a very different model in which they operate. They want to make you happy and you want to give you a great experience whenever you touch base with them. So at each customer touch point, they've actually defined a way to delight you. So when you are walking out of a Disney park, after a full day when you are tired, they have realized that at that point, the customer might not remember which parking space has he parked the car. So they've defined a solution for it. And they've defined, for example, a customer is coming in the park. They've studied when is it that the customer will start spending money, when is it that the customer would just like to see things. And hence they've stationed the food stalls at a particular space. They've stationed something in terms of just displays at a different space and what you will need to buy at a different space. So all that has come as in terms of, that's the third point, once you define what your proposition is. Third is, how does it translate into business objectives and goals? So that's also an important point in terms of how do you keep tracking it and how do you say, as the panel members discuss, how does it translate into business? The fourth most critical point is how does it that your full organization is moving together in terms of the mindsets and capabilities we discuss. Again, going back to the Disney example, they call their customers as guests and not as customers. That's a different way of thinking about it. They actually incentivize people to actually have longer conversations, and the longer the conversations, that's more appreciated. They make sure that even their employees are called cast members and not actually employees, because for them, everything is an experience. So it all needs to come together, right from the vision, right from what your proposition needs to be, right from how you are getting everything together to deliver that proposition, and is it making money for you, and in the end, actually taking the full organization together.
Thank you, Mr. Vaidyanathan. Turning back to you again. Rajiv referred to co-creation. Co-creation is, of course, a process wherein you get the feedback from the actual users, redesign, reposition your products to meet the overall requirements of the end user. Is that anything that you have attempted in your organization? And if so, what has been the scale of success?
Of course, it is everybody's case that when we ask customers what they want and how they want to design it, it helps a lot. It's rather ABC, and it's very important. What we are doing is that we are actually beginning to now call customers at random in the same city, because we are based in Mumbai. We call some of our loan against property customers or mortgage customers, and then actually understand from them, did we do it right or did we not do it right? Were we over-aggressive and so on? We get some inputs. But personally, in the technology space, I have personally not been a very big fan of asking customer what he wants and then making it. Because, for example, if we ask customers, what do you want? He can never dream of mobile banking. Nobody ever asked us. Then at some stage, banks start making mobile banking. At that time, I was at ICICI Bank. We said, okay, we launched on mobile banking in its variant, in its initial format, just by sending SMSs to customers and so on. Then it evolved and evolved and evolved and became a product. So, for example, if customers ever asked, do you want to communicate? Nobody would have dreamt of asking for a mobile phone. You give it, then they adopt the technology. So in the new age technology space, oftentimes we make the product and then the customer absorb it over a period of time. In the brick and mortar structure, which are a physical delivery of the loan, it is usually the other way around. I have, of course, found that finally when we ask customers to themselves fill up the form, fill up the application form, come to the internet, fill it up correctly, it is like, there is this Adventures of Tom Sawyer, the old story which we read in childhood, saying that Aunt Polly tells him to go and paint a fence as a punishment. He starts painting the fence with great amount of excitement, and then all his friends come to him and say, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" He says, "I'm great, having great fun painting my fence." And then everybody paints the pen for him, and he sits back and enjoys it. It's like that. When customer himself paints his fence, then we save cost. We don't have to do data entry. He enjoys it. He does it correctly. And then we enjoy the benefit of having lesser cost, and he enjoys it. So somehow we feel that more and more we may get the customer to move towards making his own product and customizing on the net. It saves us money and makes him happier.
Thank you. Madam Panse, the question that I would like to pose to you is, how effectively can we use social media with service customer centricity in organizations?
In fact, I feel that social media is a very powerful tool, and it helps in both the ways, from the customer point of view and from the staff point of view also. With so much of younger generation coming in, we have found in my bank itself, I know on Facebook there is a closed user group over there who have formed. Any new product which we are introducing, my staff itself at the branches, as they are discussing with the customers, the feedback which they get, they post it over there. So we do get that feedback, and we know that we need to probably improve a particular product. From the customer point of view, definitely social media can be used, and it is a very interactive media, and we can get the feedback, and we can know vis-a-vis other banks, because the customer keep comparing the products, so it becomes very easy to get a feedback and find out if we need to tweak a particular product, whether if we tweak, whether we'll get better results as far as selling of a particular product is concerned. So according to me, social media is a very, very important tool, and we can get a lot of feedback on introducing a particular product or on an existing product. Any tweaking is required. Both way it can help, and the staff also, if they feel very involved, because they know that there's somebody who's taking a cognizance at the level where it should be taken, so it really improves the relationship within the organization also.
Mr. Rajiv Sabharwal, we all are aware that employees of banks, do play an important role in sustaining customer centricity and in ensuring superior experience of the customers, whether it is in brick and mortar channel or any other alternative delivery channels. How do we overall ensure that the employees in organizations play a very effective role, and what are those factors which guide their behavior? Your brief response, please.
I feel, it's not some roles. I think all roles are played by the employees. The only, difference, I would say, or what gets added to what employees do is technology. But the quality of the performance of any group, any business group, any bank, or any organization, any country is purely a function of how good the employees are or how good the leaders are. I think so that actually determines where the bank will head. What we found is that if you have to change and become more customer-centric, it has to start right from the vision stage. I think so the management, the leaders have to define the vision and then ensure that that vision percolates down. The vision percolates down only through communication. That's what we have seen. So communication, going and talking to people on what do you want actually at the end of the day is very important. Each employee has to buy into that vision. And unless and until that happens, it becomes very difficult to give seamless service. Third thing which is equally important is one has to ensure that all products and processes are aligned towards that. A lot of times when we make products, sometimes we send the product back to the product team saying that, I don't think so it's good for the customer. And that is the attitude which anybody needs to have. A lot of times what happens is we say that this product is good, but the processes are just not there, and we need to realign our processes. And these processes are important not only at the front end, but also at the back end, because the customer needs to get a seamless service. So what is very important is the vision percolating down, and the products and processes aligned towards it. The last point which I would like to say here is are the risk and reward equations for the employees aligned towards delivering a customer-centric behavior as far as the organization is concerned? Once we do that, I think so all of this will fall in place. So net-net, there is nothing which can change within the organization unless and until the employees are aligned towards it.
Thank you, Rajiv. We have last 10 minutes. Maybe we can take 3 or 4 questions maximum. Floor is now open to the audience.
In today's situation, where there are millions and millions of customers, technology solution to customer orientation is necessary, and we cannot think about customer orientation without technology. That is what the discussion more or less points out. My question to the CEO of the 3 public sector bank is that I am also from a public sector bank. We have completed 100 years. 100 years of data is available with us. In today's situation, how feasible or how easy or difficult it is to provide, to bring all the data into technology, and what in your opinion is the time frame within which we can bring a technology solution to the customer orientation?
In fact, I would say with technology it has become very easy, because with the CBS and all the alternate delivery channels getting hooked onto it, you do get a 360-degree view of the usage of a customer. Now, what is really required is establishment of a call center, and if a customer calls in and he needs something, before the call is getting transferred to a particular relationship manager who's taking the call, the entire data can flash on his monitor. What was the last time when the particular customer has visited the website, which product he was showing an interest, which are the different types of delivery channels he's used, what is his spending habits, the whole thing as a dashboard can come onto that particular screen. And when a person is talking, a relationship manager is talking to a customer, he would have the full view and he can be very interactive as far as his requirements are concerned. Now, your second question, as far as the time frame is concerned, definitely 2 to 4 more years are required for the public sector banks. Private sector banks are already there. For the public sector banks to come to that situation, it would require 2 to 3 years, but I'm sure after 3 years we can have this interactive session in a call center. Probably for all the public sector banks, we can establish 100 or 200-seater call centers where we can take care of everything, pre-sale, post-sale, the whole thing we can take care of through this interaction.
I am Dr. Dhananjay Bapat from NIBM Pune. First of all, I extend sincere thanks to the panelists for sharing your perspective on a very important topic, customer centricity in retail banking. I have a question. I mean, how you compare customer centricity in banking industry with respect to other industries? And since we are discussing bank of the future, in this context, the measures of the customer equity that can be used, maybe in 3 years or 5 years, what is that measures that you'd like to include in the annual reports, maybe in your performance analysis of your people, and also, I mean, your branch people and your marketing officers as well?
Rajiv, could you please take that question?
What exactly would you like to know?
My first question was regarding like how you compare customer centricity in banking industry with respect to other industries. And maybe since we are discussing bank of the future, so in terms of the various measures as you indicated, so what are the measures that maybe you'd like to highlight with the investors in your annual report to the researchers, and what measures you'll also which you are using, maybe it may be evolving in assessing the performance of the people? I mean, maybe you'll include customer centricity in their annual performance as well, so what is the importance of that?
Look, when you look at, what's happened in the banking space, there have been dramatic changes which have happened in the banking space. From a time 10 years back where, 90% of the transactions used to happen at the branches, today less than 10% of the transactions happen through branches. And a lot of that has moved to self-service, whether it's ATMs, whether it's mobile, whether it's internet. There is a huge intervention of technology and analytics which has happened. And all that has led to a much higher degree of customer centricity. But we still believe that there is lots more to do. And lots more to do, more in the space of product design and more in the space of how human capital is more responsive to customer needs. I think so those are the two areas in which we feel there is scope for improvement and we should do better. You know, for example, if you compare the Apple product, you know, may not be as good on service, but the product is so robust that you hardly need service. And that is what should be there when you design products. As far as what's going to happen as far as assessment of people or otherwise is concerned, I think so what we need to measure in the long run is customer advocacy, and what we should all, everybody should talk about is do your customers recommend you, and are your customers loyal to you? Those are the benchmarks which probably each bank should evaluate and then decide whether they're proceeding in the right direction or not. As far as evaluation of employees, I think so almost all organizations now have responsiveness to customer as one of the key elements of the evaluation as far as the year-end appraisals are concerned.
Thank you, Rajiv. I think we have time only for 2 questions. We are sorry we have completely run out of time. Permit me to summarize the discussions of this session. Customer centricity is the need of the hour. The starting point needs to be the customer segmentation, understanding intimately the needs of each segment customer and making available products and services that suit their needs. Easier said than done. There needs to be an organizational setup and support services to back up delivery efficiencies. And there is also a need to have a proper set of rewards, risk reward, kind of a metrics to ensure customer satisfaction and to ensure that the employee involvement is ensured. There is also a great role which can be played by the social media as well as by leveraging the IT to ensure that customer centricity is assured in the Indian banking system. Thanks for all your patient listening. Thank you.